Good morning, everybody. And happy Sacred Sunday to you for all of you who are watching live or on Sunday. And also, I really want to welcome all of you who watch the replay because our statistics show most of you watch the recording, the replay. So, welcome live or replay. Really happy to have you with us. You know, I call this the Sacred Sunday show. It's non denominational, but the idea is to, at least in our own unique way, make every Sunday sacred. And we do that by seeing divinity, by being grateful. And no matter what our thoughts or beliefs may be, we can all practice gratitude. And most of us can practice seeing divinity. Maybe just start by focusing on nature, and then maybe get a little more challenging. Can you see the divinity within yourself? And for extra credit, can you see the divinity in people that you judge or have stuff around? And that's really the whole idea of making any time, any moment sacred. What I've done with this show too is I meet so many wonderful, incredible people through Saturday Night Live. And so frankly, I'll meet somebody for the first time on Saturday Night Live, and it's like, wow, I want to hang out with this person for a while. Will you be on my Sacred Sunday show? And that's very much the case of today's guest, Steve Farrell. And I'm going to add Steve here. And I'll tell you a little bit about Steve for any of you who don't know. He's the executive director of Humanity's Team. It's a nonprofit organization based in Boulder, Colorado. He's coming to us from Colorado right now. And his organization is focused on helping people throughout the world awaken to their deeper self and the interconnectedness of everything in the universe. And there it is. What more important mission could there be? I mean, feeding hungry people, I guess, but certainly in terms of raising our consciousness, Steve's doing it, and he's doing it very, very incredibly successfully. In the 1990s, before Steve became involved with Humanity's Team, he co-founded and led two different high-growth technology companies based in Silicon Valley. They were very successful, and he was an officer in the Young Entrepreneurs Organization. But as we're going to learn, he had a shift connected to the divine truth of oneness, and now is fully putting his heart and soul into helping us to raise consciousness. He also has a wife, two kids, two teenagers, and certainly, very important, let's not forget Sadie the dog, the family dog. As all of you know, I'm a big dog lover. So welcome, Steve. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here with you and your team.
Yeah. Well, we both are blessed to have amazing teams that are interweaving more and more. You know, that's one of the things that since the pandemic, and I'd love your feedback on this. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I was in the entertainment industry at a very early age, which of course was highly competitive. And so in my 20s and 30s, I had a very competitive nature to get ahead. And I was successful at an early age. I won my first Emmy Award at 23. I had 85 employees in my 20s. But there was that comparative thing very ingrained in my consciousness. And so part of my personal journey is being not competitive and learning to be cooperative. And I've gotten pretty good at it. I'm also 65. So I've had decades to work on it. What's been amazing to me, though, is since the pandemic happened, it's as though all of us are just like, how can we share resources? I have not seen any competitive energy with your organization, our organization, and 15 other organizations that are doing similar things of getting consciousness raising people, tools, and practices out to the world.
Yeah, well, without a doubt, and COVID, of course, has had this huge silver lining where people are searching for the deeper meaning and real purpose, and often just a new mission in life and new relationships and so on. So I think as you know, Humanity's Team is about awakening the world to oneness, or we support people on this conscious journey. And the calling that we've had in this is more to really be in the being state of that, which is what you're describing, as opposed to just an articulation of it, because the articulation actually of conscious living, of unity consciousness, of oneness, and these things, has been around actually forever. What's new is this, where there's not competition, where it's cooperation, where it's collaboration, where we're coming more from a heart space, where we see the enormous challenges that are out in the world, and we know we're awake. That's part of the conscious. We understand that the divine, there's no separation. Right now, every one of them, right now. I mean, that the divine is present, and he is love and patience and kindness and collaboration, and it's not competition. And also, as we look at this world that we envision that we're unfolding into, what we sometimes call this heaven on earth, that is just the fullness of our being state, where we're all, in a sense, holding hands and hearts around the world, just looking out for common good and understanding. And not only is there no separation between me and the divine, but between me and you, Scott, between me and any viewer. And we can actually feel each other's energy, whole different story. And where we're feeling into the divine and each other, that's the heaven on earth, where we in a sense put ourselves in service to life around us, sort of as a healthy cell in a body, which is what life is here on earth and in all of the cosmos. So kind of a long answer to what you share, but yeah, there's no competition, isn't in there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful answer to that. Thank you. One of the things that Deepak Chopra pointed out when he was on one of our shows that I really love is that about the most ancient holy scriptures that have made it, that aren't buried in the basement of the Vatican somewhere, are the Vedic Scriptures, written in Sanskrit about 7,000 years ago. And in the Vedic Scriptures, God is called Brahman, and there are 26 principles assigned to God, assigned to Brahman. Fast forward 7,000 years to today, and our highest form of science, of course, is quantum physics. And quantum physics has scientifically proven that we're living in a unified field of ever-changing molecules. And our scientists have assigned 26 principles so far that they've been able to determine to the unified field. And the 26 principles of the unified field perfectly correlate with the 26 principles of Brahman written 7,000 years ago. And my interpretation of that is we are living in a time when our most ancient spiritual knowledge and our most modern science are coming together to paint the same picture. You can look at it from a scientific or spiritual point of view. There really is just one ocean of ever-changing molecules, one ocean of God that we're all a part of. And this is that time that we're really breaking away from the illusion of separation and coming into a greater understanding of that fundamental truth.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We, as you know, have a program going on right now called Forbidden Science. It's with Nassim Haramein, the physicist who's out of Southern California, and Greg Braden. And it's called Forbidden Science because it's not allowed in the classroom right now. But Nassim Haramein is just months away from announcing his unified field theory. I think in February, he's planning his big sort of Steve Jobs moment where he walks out all of this research, and he's got this huge team of scientists and mathematic experts that are there, that are funded by benefactors that are with him down in Southern California. And the science, and I got into the middle of this because, again, we created a masterclass around this called Forbidden Science. The science is astounding. Let me just give you a thumbnail sketch.
Yeah.
So in today's world, the quantum scale objects, very small, are one set of science. And then cosmological objects, large objects, is another science. There's not a connection between the two. They both deal just with the material world, not the non-material world. So the physical world, not the non-physical world. Now, what Nassim's what he calls cosmic constants demonstrate as equations that account for everything in the universe. Again, from quantum scale to cosmological objects. It addresses all of it. And it says that, and it addresses the physical and non-physical. And it also says that field that has been called God or the divine or the universe or the creator, that field is actually within, is down at a cellular level in every part of the universe. So what that means is for us that have felt the clairvoyant type things, and we probably all had those moments where we can feel into the future something very important, and we've never had a science to explain it. How did I know that 2 years, a year before it happened? Or clear cognition, where you had this knowing come to you of, I know I was supposed to marry my wife. And then there are all the other clair words. So this field thing explains it. It says, of course you can, non-local wisdom, the whole universe is right here at our disposal. Any information we can grab. And actually it's more than that. It's saying, since the field is within, down at a cellular level, it's saying the connection now spreads across everything at a cellular level. Wisdom, which I was just addressing, spreads across everything at a cellular level. And power spreads across everything at a cellular level. Now I'm going to put my own interpretation on the power piece. And that is, of course, we've seen masters demonstrate unbelievable powers that we still don't understand. I think it is what Nassim is bringing forward. I think the way that we harness that power is when our vision and our plan and our daily action is so pure, that is so much about just that awakened world, this conscious living that the whole world is enjoying, an animal life and the earth, where we completely align with that pure vision, that pure unfolding. Then I believe that power starts to manifest and come behind those that are doing that work.
I love what you're saying, Steve. I absolutely love it. And two things, being personal for a moment. I knew I was going to marry my wife. And for 10 years, she said, no, Scott, we're just going to be friends. For 10 years, she, insisted, no, we're just going to be platonic. And of course, we did get married. Conversely, we were at a memorial. My wife and I were at a memorial service for a friend of ours who had died tragically. She'd been killed by a drunk driver. And I'm holding my wife's hand in the temple at Harbin Hot Springs. And all of a sudden, I got this clear vision. And I saw myself doing a memorial service for my wife inside that temple. And at that time, she had no symptoms at all. 6 weeks later, I was holding a memorial service. It came to me so clearly that she was about to die. And we had no symptoms, no reason for me to think that at the time. And so it's true, there are certain times we get this incredible, sometimes it's a very beautiful vision and sometimes it's a hard one. But it does happen. I got so excited about introducing you that I forgot to say welcome to all the people in our Zoom room. And I see a lot of familiar friends that are with us. And so again, let us know where you're from, and definitely want to interact a little bit. So any thoughts, questions that you have for Steve. And it's cool. We've got people from all over the world, Steve. We've got Divinity Joy, who's from Ecuador, Olga from Sweden. I know we've got people from British Columbia, and of course the United States. So welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us.
Nice. Yeah.
Steve, share with us a little bit. I mentioned it just kind of in passing, but I'd love to hear more about your own personal journey from the kind of very humble beginnings, then achieving tremendous success in the traditional American dream, but then the part of you that's changed what your dream is really all about, which is, of course, leading into your book. So tell us about your arc.
Yeah. Well, first, let me say, boy, that story you just told about your wife, wow, that's very touching. So very moving, Scott. And
thank you.
I'm sure there was a reason, I'll call it the divine, brought you that awareness 6 weeks before, so that you could just be the tender person that you would want to be.
No, it was such a blessing to have that, because as she was then going through the process, I wasn't wasting my time. I was kind of somewhat as prepared as one could be for something like that. And I wasn't wasting my time trying to change it. I was just, oh my God, okay, it's happening. This is what's happening. And so there was an acceptance of the unacceptable that experience gave me that really, really, really helped. So, yeah.
I'll bet. Yeah, well, blessings, and now you do this good work as the love coach. So it sounds kind of funny to call it perfect, but
But it is. It is.
so
I'll say that she was only 52 when when she passed, and so it's young. But there was so much grace around her death. It was a very, very graceful death, and a beautiful way to go, being held by her husband with a dozen friends singing and praying, and in her own bedroom. It was a pretty lovely way to leave this
yeah,
time. And
yeah,
as she did pass, her final breath was amazing. We all felt this incredible liberation. And so, and I now work a lot with people who are dying or dealing with dying. And I have an absolute belief and awareness experience that it really ultimately is liberation. If we can let go of the attachment, which is way easier said than done, but really, and drop into the liberation of the soul, leaving the confines of the human body and going back into the oneness, going back into whatever we want to call it, heaven, the astral plane, all that is. It's a beautiful liberation.
yeah, yeah. Well, that my story, my book kind of ends up there. But so let me tell you about my book, which is Bill Gladstone is my agent right now, who is Neil Donald Walsh and Eckhart Tolle's agent. And the agent is your first step with a book, and then you decide what publisher is going to bring your book to market. So it's exciting. We're working on a lot of fun stuff together. So it's called A New Dream, and my journey from Silicon Valley to a life of service in humanity, or a life of service to humanity. So now, what it is it's a 40-year biographical stretch that starts with when I was very young, living with 6 siblings in a little home with a divorced mom, how probably a lot of us grew up. I'm paying for my braces in the 6th grade and for my expenses, my way through college, et cetera. And I'm on the East Coast. And then I fly off to San Francisco to take my job in this very, very entry-level financial services job. And over a period then of not too many years, I advance over to IBM mainframe sales. And then I leave and I start a company, my first company. And then a second company. And then so and the first company we took to 75 million in 10 years. The second one we took to 75 million in 2 years. So this whole what is called American Dream, where you're in those big bucks. When we sold the first company for almost $30 million to NEC, and then we raised almost 200 million for the second company called Netigy. So that was a day where I was on the private jets and living that American dream life. Now, that might sound, a lot of people have the sense of the American dream as this thing that we all, oh my God, I would like a piece of that, right? And what I found in this American dream was that it's a mirage. It's just like a mirage. So you walk out to it and it's not quite there, so, but you see it out a bit further, so you're just walking and walking and walking and you're never getting there. So I tell that whole story of what happened, what that was like. I learned a lot. I was in the Young Presidents Organization, the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, as you mentioned, Scott. So I was working, the guy that leads Netflix, Reed Hastings, was there and YPO with me. Gavin Newsom was in my chapter.
Wow.
So these are the people I was hanging out with, and more. I mean, those are just a couple. So I learned a great deal. It was an exciting environment where you've got these creative people that are doing big things in the world. Now, in the midst of this, I had my epiphany, went through my awakening where I understood who I was. I'm not just Steve Farrell, my mother and dad's son, here for one lifetime. I'm an eternal, everlasting being. I have unlimited potential. I'm here on a planet that's hugely challenged. And over a period of years, I lost my passion for that American dream because of this whole mirage thing that I felt into, and I ended up selling everything. And then a few years later, working with Neil Donald Walsh, we co-founded Humanities Team, launched it in 2003. And then it's grown into what all of the things we're doing now. We have this revolutionary streaming platform for people that are living consciously. So all the way to today, where it's unbelievable. We have hundreds of programs from this Humanities Stream platform. Again, it's this, if people have seen it, if you go to humanitiesteam.org and then click be a member, you'll go to that stream platform and this intuitive graphical interface, and you have these hundreds of programs. One of the programs I'll just tell you about, because I want to make a point. One of our newest faculty is a woman named Deborah Myers. Most people probably don't know Deborah. She lives in Sonoma County, California. And she's showing you these acupressure points right here at the back of the head and here, helping you to get clarity, helping you to sleep well. A daily routine that she calls it a tune-up, that just brings you into this total clarity and calmness and so on. Now, she's one of our least well-known faculty members. And yet you watch her program and I dare you to do it and walk away, even after the first module, and not come away with, oh my God, there's so many things here that I just want to do on a daily basis. And the whole reason we created this streaming platform is so many of us, we've got CNN and NBC, and we've got Fox and MSNBC, and then we have Amazon and Netflix and stuff. But how often do we walk away from that media with real substance, that's really supporting this conscious journey? It's getting to all of the things, Scott, you and I were talking about earlier, where we were saying there's no competition. So this is the whole vision and dream of us and Humanities Team in creating this streaming platform, and we were led to it, was to make this affordable platform. We're a nonprofit, so we're not trying to do the for-profit, get revenue, top line revenue and bottom line profit. Just the opposite. How soon can we drop the price, down again? So, and how soon can we translate it to Spanish and then all of the other languages? So our dream is like every home, you've got 7 billion people on the planet that have got, where you've got a streaming platform coming in all the languages, and you've got all of these incredible faculty that are offering all of their conscious living best practices. And, you go through 3 of these, 5 of these, 10 of these, you make room in your daily diet for, okay, I'll 5% of my time that's now TV and Netflix, Amazon, I'll go ahead and put into conscious media and see if there's something there, which usually go to 10%, 15%. Then guess what? Over time, it's like you're not even watching these others anymore because you're realizing I feel so good. And this is really supporting me. This is nurturing me. So I talk about this in the book, near the end of the book. So now,
I want to I've actually pulled up the Humanities Team website. So everybody, it's humanitiesteam.org. And obviously there's a lot going on. Do me a favor, Steve. While we've got it up, walk me through it. Where are some places, show us, some places that people can go to immediately kind of start reaping the rewards of what you've put together here?
So go ahead and click on the Become a Member there, Scott.
Okay.
And then you'll see, so these are the master classes over there. Forbidden Science, I was just telling you about. It's the one that we're in right now with Nassim Harriman, the physicist, and Greg Braden, the geologist. And these others, you can see Higher Love with Catherine Woodward Thomas, Dr. Laura Berman, Daring to Live. So, and then another science program, You Are Limitless, with Panache Desai, Michael Beckwith. I won't read all of these, but so for the different parts of our life, healing the past, we all have traumas. And Thomas Hubel and Joan Borisenko just beautifully talk about how we can heal past traumas. So because we get stuck in life where we don't heal traumas. Forbidden Science, I mentioned, this is this one where, boy, if you have any sense of ultimate reality, is there's some separation and that field or those powers are up there somewhere and they're not in you. Just take the free program that leads into this, and then you may or may not want to take the masterclass. But where we get into that. This is all right here, right now. And then the higher love, where we bring that higher love into our relationships, what you were describing with your wife, Scott, and even into our very personal, intimate relationships. Dr. Laura Berman was the person that did In the Bedroom for Oprah. And I could say more about all of these. If you scroll down, though,
Steve, you've got like all, oh yeah, there you go. We can see a little bit larger. You've got all the great teachers. I mean, Bruce Lipton, I see, and just all, these are like the primary teachers of all of these fields.
They're amazing. And
Very impressive.
we spent 6 months to a year creating each one of these. They're incredible. If you keep scrolling, you'll get to hundreds of programs.
Wow. Wow. And so it sounds like what happens is that you've got an introductory class for each of these.
You'll see all of these other names. Some you'll probably recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Christy Whitman is in here. Jonathan Goldman with this sound healing.
Matthew Fox. We had Matthew on the show last night.
Matthew Fox. I love Matthew. He's incredible.
Yeah, he's really, really wonderful. And there's Connie and Andrew. They were on this show 2 weeks ago because she is an original descendant of the Mayflower. And she was connecting with a woman who was a descendant of both the Mayflower and the native tribe from 400 years ago. So that was our show 2 weeks ago.
Sadhvi Saraswati, probably many people know, or Suzanne Giesman, who's amazing. Oh my God.
I don't know Suzanne. Wow. Okay.
And then Karen Noe, also a medium.
Look at all these.
And then things like sacred dance. We're in oneness with Bon Fachet.
Right.
Nathan Crane. There's Jonathan Goldman's programs. Dr. Naman Naeem.
Beautiful.
Andrea Isaacs. Again, each of these. This is why I say just start with like 5% of your time a week doing something like this with conscious media and just watch it grow. I promise you, you won't be watching much TV or any of these movies also. You've got these are Emmanuel ITRs and other movies that are full-length feature movies.
Wow.
So all of these partners, we're putting in a new program a week right now, adding a brand new program every week.
Wow.
And then creating these new master classes alongside them. Again, this amazing science one now. And then in January, we've got one with Michael Bernard Beckwith and Neil Donald Walsh called Discover Your Soul's Calling. So.
All right. So people can, of course, obviously become a member. And I'm clicking on that to go a little further.
So in becoming a member, it's this thing is it's about it's a little more than $1 a day, about $1.40 a day, and there's a 2-week guarantee period. And again, this is right now this platform. There's no interface like this in the industry. This pricing is down below any pricing in the industry, and as a nonprofit, we're committed to just more programs, price down, translating everything. Our dream is where it's down at, below Netflix and a home in Portugal and Spain, in Asia, in China, in Japan, that people are just tuning in and watching these programs with these amazing people, all translated for an affordable price.
Thank you so much. So, we were talking about this before the show began, but let's come back to this time on the planet and our true purpose. And so clearly you're living your Dharma, you're living your divine purpose. And we could look at the world and see a lot of really scary stuff. And there's a lot of reasons to be very concerned. And there's also, when looking at programs like what you're creating and what I'm offering to people, there's a lot of reason to be hopeful and inspiration. Where are you in that balance? I mean, just between us and the people watching, what is your imagining for what's going to take place in the next few years?
So this is the most incredible moment in the history of the planet. And I'm not trying to just be marketing speak here. We were talking, Scott, right before I came on, about this huge pivot that we're making. Truly, it's the most extraordinary moment in the history of the planet. And my book is getting into the whole sort of following the mirage thing of experiencing the American dream and realizing that's not it, and then seeing this new dream, this is the dream we're talking about here now, where we wake up to who we really are and we really know it. I mean, when we say there's no separation, we really know the divine is right here, that we're going within, and that we're respecting the clairvoyance as it happens in these other clair expressions. And we put ourselves into pure service. This is the opportunity. Where you're saying, what is in this moment? How do you feel? What do you see? Is there anything more beautiful that we can do with our life than to just put ourselves in pure service to this dream that's unfolding, that's going to take care of every person on the planet? They've got food and water and shelter and medical care, and animal life is respected, and the planet is honored and respected and stewarded. I mean, is there anything more beautiful than putting ourselves in service to that? So this is what we're trying to do in Humanities Team. I know this is why viewers are here. We're on the conscious journey. So I'm guessing this is why we would all say we're here, where we really have the strength and to stay with this every moment and every day. And we wake up just okay, how can I be the arms and legs and heart of of the divine, of the cosmos? It's wanting to express through me. It's wanting to manifest this now. Because I see, we say in Humanities Team, our mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. That's in 19 years. That's in 19 years. We're not on a pace to do that right now. But guess what? That's why I think we all embodied, is to be here right now and to put ourselves in pure service to that. And I promise you, it's not the American dream that's going to be fulfilling. There's nothing more fulfilling. There's no higher prosperity than this, where we wake up and we're doing this. And there's this whole boomerang effect going on too, that's blessing us, right? Where we do this work and we're in pure service, just like Scott, all the things that have happened to you with your programming and things, where because you're in service, these boomerang effect things come back where you're blessed and people come into your life and you're introduced to people. And then the program is expanded. All these things are happening. Why? Because this is the power thing, right? Because the universe, this field is saying, it's happening right here. Yeah. Let's bring it. Let's put more down. Bring on more to this team.
I want to read a couple of the comments that have come in. Tishran, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, talks about how he also had a vision of his partner passing, and 3 weeks later it happened, and it cracked him open, changed his life forever. And then he also says, and Steve, yes, it has opened my service for humanity, very much like yourself. Anne writes, I agree with Steve. This is a choice point for a new earth, heaven on earth. And then she writes, I love that. How can I be the arms and the legs of the divine? Nanette writes, it's either terrifying or a magnificent invitation to do something for us, our children, and our grandchildren. And Dorina Joy from Ecuador writes, thank you for sharing your dream and visions and putting them in action with love and wisdom, Steve. Glad you mentioned the intention to have it go global. When will the Spanish version and others be available, and other languages eventually too? So there's an appreciation and a question there for you, Steve.
Yeah, well, first on the appreciation, just beautiful, everybody. And I know some of you, Nanette, I think that's Nanette Kennedy probably.
Yes, it is.
Some of you. And so, hey, great spending some time with you here on this beautiful Sunday. It's gorgeous here in Boulder. Wow, sunny skies and gorgeous. And what you're doing with your lives. So, we're one, in the first case, there was a passing and you're pivoting, into a life of service. And how beautiful is that? So, and everybody is not doing that. So, boy, I hope you feel like the love of the divine, just saying, great job, nice work. Wonderful that you've got the strength to do this. So now the question here, I'm sorry, Scott.
The question was, when are your programs going to be available?
Oh, right.
Other languages.
So we've already started. This program that's out right now called Forbidden Science is available in Spanish. We're actually doing a fundraising thing in Humanities Team right now. We want to, all those master classes, you could see those premium master classes, we're raising money to take them all to Spanish captioning. So we hoped and plan to get there by the end of this year, which is in only 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks. So we're right in it, and we're feeling. Incidentally, these things, the mission, make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. The fundraising drive here to let's get all of the master classes over to Spanish. All of these things. We were not doing the Western thing of standing at a whiteboard. Now, what should we do this year? These are divinely inspired things. Our team we're actually a virtual team. My office is right here in my home. Our team is spread all over the world. We work from our home. And we get these downloads where the divine is saying, this is the mission. This is what we're doing right now. And we're all, we all just come together as this family of, okay, let's make the Spanish happen. And then we're going to go to the other languages. So it's happening right now. Yeah, go to that humanities team site, humanitiesteam.org that Scott shared, and join our email list. When you're on the site, there are places where you can register, and you'll see all of the things that are unfolding here right now. There's incredible things happening within Humanities Team. We do the Global Oneness Summit. Scott had me on just a little bit ago to talk about the Global Oneness Summit, which is the Global Oneness Day, was 12 years old this year. So a lot of fun and free programs that we do.
I pulled up your site again when we started talking about it, and I was kind of looking for what you were saying. But what I'm seeing is that you've got a whole community section here. So is this where people meet each other and kind of connect and interact?
Yes. So this is humanities.team, and it's our own social network. So humanities.team. If you just enter that. There's no .org or .com. Humanities.team, and then you're in our social network. And this is all people living consciously. So unity, consciousness, oneness, these things.
Your old buddy Neil Donald Walsh.
Yeah.
And there it is. That's in a different language.
There you go. Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
check these things out. There's a lot of free things. We do free podcasts every week. We do a free acceleration program every week. We're doing lots of things, and it's all just you could see that headline when we landed on the site, is supporting a global community of people, supporting those on the conscious journey is what we're all about.
Susan writes something that I want to read, and that leads to a question that I have for you, Steve. She writes, my 10-year-old grandson wants to be a scientist, but he's caught up in his parents' old paradigm, and he can't wait until he understands all of this. And what that triggered for me, you and I are blessed in that we are in our Dharma. But right now, as a coach, there are so many people that I'm working with who they're in the stage of their life where the American dream or what they were doing is being taken away from them or is falling apart. The relationship is ending. Their job is over. There's a lot of death. There's physical death because of the pandemic and other things, but there's also death in relationships, death in that which is old. So, you and I are kind of buzzing with the excitement and the enthusiasm of being in our Dharma. But I want to ask you if you'd be willing to go back maybe to a time in your life when what you believed in was falling apart, or when you realized it was a mirage, and how you made it through that time in honor of those people that are in that stage of their life.
Yeah, well, let me share. I'll just bring it all the way home here. I have two teenagers. My wife and I adopted our kids at birth. Our oldest one is my son, who's just back not too far away, is 19. He has a separation anxiety thing that just goes back to his birth. Mm-hmm. So, I live with things every day, where there are these even physiological things that are getting in the way of you growing into your full self, where we are doing our work and we're going within and we're just in touch with that power and that love. And where we're bringing, and there's a deep love. It's pure love. It's the most powerful, pure love ever, right? That's what the divine is. That's what we are, because there's no separation. So where we live from that place and we're loving and we're patient and we're kind and we're thoughtful, even as people are working through some really challenging things. And as we just keep holding that vision of how we believe in people. So as a coach, where we're working with these people, or in my case with my son and others, where we really, where they can feel that we really believe in them, and we can see the stretch that they can make and the life that they can have and the destiny that they were born to. Because every one of us that was born on the planet at this time was born with an incredibly special mission. We all have a station in life. And if we'll just trust it, this is the thing. So this is why I wrote the book, is just to, because I grew up, I was just divorced parents, a little home. And all these things have happened to me because I trusted it. I trusted the divine that was guiding me. Move to California, start the business, leave Silicon Valley, start a nonprofit. And meanwhile, all of my friends and family around me were like, "What are you doing? What in the world are you doing, Steve? Why are you going to California? Why did you leave IBM? Why are you leaving Silicon Valley and all the money behind?" It's been why? And so this is part of this conscious journey of getting into our Dharma of, we've got to really trust the process. We have to give ourselves fully to it. And where we're working with others, as you are, Scott, we're just coaching them and guiding them and supporting them and believing in them and helping them, kind of even holding their hand sometimes to get there.
I want to read a couple comments that have come in from our friends on Facebook. And thank you, friends on Facebook. I'm kind of looking, the sine wave puts out over 100 different Facebook groups. So it's like I have to see where the comments are coming in from. So I'll try and get to all the ones that are coming in. But there's two that I want to address. Jamie Lee writes, there's nothing more beautiful than putting ourselves fully in service. Trust is the key. And then Ken Brown asks a hard question. And I recognize that this represents a powerful belief system that's out in the world. And I'm not promoting the belief system, and I'm not negating it. I recognize it's a belief system that's out there. I'm curious how you want to address this, Steve. Ken asks, what about the cabal that has its foot on the neck of humanity? So again, obviously there are strong beliefs about negative forces. We've been talking about kind of the positive, the light, Neil Donald Walsh, Michael Beck, with all of our friends that we are blessed to work with that are clearly in their heart. What are your thoughts about the perception of evil or dark cabal and how to manage that part of what is or may be happening in our world?
Well, first, it is true. There is this darkness, right, that we can see all over the place, where there's pollution and where people are oppressed and horrible things. There's an incredible polarity right now in the United States and politics with COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So it's there. Yeah. And we don't want to do the New Age bypass thing and just say it's not there. It is there. What was prophesied is that everything at this time where we're doing this big pivot, everything that's unhealed has to come up for healing. So, and express itself that's what it's doing, is it's coming up for healing. So what was described as holding this neck of humanity, there are in fact evil forces everywhere that are doing all kinds of horrific things all over the world. They're there. So the question becomes, what's our response to that? What are we going to do about that? So now this perennial wisdom says, and we don't have to look, we can look back to, there are stories back thousands of years, but just look to Gandhi's time. We can just stay right in the 20th century. Gandhi, as you may know, his oppressors, he did these walks to the salt mines and things. Now, he wasn't berating these people, the British, as he was jailed and things. He was actually feeling their pain of, I know you feel the pain in what you're doing. He would talk to them, with honesty and from the heart, with authenticity. He wasn't trying to be polarity, as so often happens in this country, where we're just pushing against, where we don't like something and where we just want to talk about the evil on the other side, and we push against the evil, and we're going to fight against that. And this is the thing right now. My wife and I talk quite a bit about this. Is there's not enough of a voice right now for what Gandhi did and Jesus did and others have done, where we don't try and demean, and marginalize the evil forces. We see them. We're not putting our head in the sand. But we even have compassion for God. Can you imagine the pain that they must have where they're doing these things to children and the environment? And I can I felt into pain, in that American dream world. I can feel the pain of these people on TV and media. So if we can just kind of turn it around, see what's there, and then not try and marginalize it. Bless them, Father, for they don't know, and just be the light. This Martin Luther King also said, right? What do we do in darkness? Well, the only thing we can do is be the light. We don't want to sort of have darkness meet darkness. So there's a lot of darkness. So it's just a question of for you, in your station in life, how are you called to be the light? How can you be an expression of healing? And so that we can move beyond that and heal all of this pain and evil that's coming up right now.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Steve. I think that's a beautiful response, a beautiful answer. There's a story about the Dalai Lama, which you may be familiar with, but if not, you can add this to your repertoire of examples. The Dalai Lama was shown photographs of Chinese soldiers burning down a Tibetan temple. And the interviewer really was challenging the Dalai Lama's ability to be compassionate. And he said, as he showed him these photos, he said, I want to know, what are you really thinking? What are you really feeling when you know that Chinese soldiers are burning down temples, raping Tibetan women, perhaps even murdering your people? What are you really thinking and feeling? And the Dalai Lama wept. He was quiet for a bit, and he went within. And then his response was, it reminds me that I must pray equally for the Chinese as I pray for my Tibetan people. And that's such a beautiful example of what you're expressing, right? It's like to transcend beyond the us versus them, to transcend beyond the victim thinking, and to really drop into the oneness and the tragedy on both sides.
Yeah, boy, that's beautiful. And of course, the Dalai Lama, what an incredible, pace setter he is in terms of leading this whole thing into this future that we're all pivoting toward. Just an amazing, amazing contributor to that. So, one thing that is helpful here is that's part of our conscious journey, right? Again, we are eternal beings. So we have everlasting life. I mean, if we really connect with that, really deeply connect with that, in a sense, we almost become on a mission here. And it's not like the end of our life isn't the end of our life, for God's sakes. And many of you, I hope, are around mediums and things. We in Humanities Team get to work with conscious leaders, thought leaders from all over the world, including very talented mediums. And, you don't have to be around too many of them and hear too many of these stories of what is happening to have complete and total faith that there is no such thing as death. In fact, the afterlife is very involved with us right now. And where we really deeply get that, then we can put ourselves in full service to this whole thing, and we can see the evil coming up and so on, and know that we're just not, when we come at it from an everlasting life perspective, we're just more patient, more kind. We understand we're going to get there. We understand there are these huge challenges between here and there, but we know we're going to get there. It's assured that we'll get there. I believe in our lifetime. We'll see. But so I think that can help a lot. I think where we're living inside of this, just incredible pain at the thought of us passing and our friends and family passing, it's much harder because we feel like we had one shot at it and we went down, and it's very, very challenging when we're coming from that place.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done several shows. I've been doing television shows on near-death experiences for a long, long time, and I've had my own out-of-body experiences, non-drug induced, I'll add, and there is a real relief when we have an experience like that. And I want to say that the people who have had a near-death experience or significant out-of-body experience, or through meditation have experienced their eternal self or the divine self, that's a real gift. And for people that haven't had an experience like that, where it's more an intellectual idea, it's more difficult. And I have a lot of empathy I worked a lot in the prison system and met men who believe there's a place called hell and believe that's where they're going when they die. And I never had that. I never believed in hell. And I certainly never believed that anybody would go there and that was really real. And to meet human beings who, despite what they've done in their life, have that perception of what's going to happen when they die was such a wake up to me of how blessed we are, Steve, how incredibly blessed we are to not only be, let's be honest, white men with tremendous privilege and abundance, but also to have that spiritual knowledge, that spiritual awareness that, hey, we are eternal beings, it's okay. And for people that don't have that, we really have to have maximum empathy and understanding for how hard their worldview might be.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, part of why we do this education thing is because we talk about living consciously, there's so many dimensions to that. There are thousands of dimensions to that, including the thing we're getting to here now. So one of the things that probably everybody's familiar with watching this program is this afterlife review, right? That we see actually ourselves at key moments in our life after we pass through other people's eyes. They experience us, and we see where we're uplifting people, and we see where we're maybe berating people. We're doing challenging things where we're saying, I could do better than that. So it adds kind of a double factor to life. The double factor is, one, while we're here, we can just do amazing things in service that feel so good. But then in the afterlife review, guess how we pass, and we're looking at people's eyes where they're feeling us, and we get to experience that in the afterlife. So now they say Conversations with God says that there are there's a revolving three aspects to life. There is knowing, that's in where we come from in the afterlife as we're born into the world, where we know all of the wisdom, the perennial wisdom of love, of life, of power, of service. Then there's experiencing. So that's why we come into this life. Again, on the conscious journey, we're probably familiar with this. We want to experience, because it's not enough to know what perfect love is, which is that whole afterlife world. It's not enough to just know it. We want to experience that. What would it be like where I could experience the fullness of the most pure love? What would that feel like? I got in these previous lives, there were some moments in there, but what if I could feel into something very powerful that was consistent throughout my life? And then after experiencing is the being. So it's knowing, experiencing, being. So, and then in being, it's this marinating of where we come out of the life, and we're in perfect love in the afterlife. But we're also very conscious of this life that we just experienced and what we did the afterlife review and so on, and where we came from. So again, where we come back to this whole, where we started the program, we're at this moment of this big pivot. This world is severely challenged. We were born into our bodies at this time, at the time of the big pivot, in order to be of some service. So where we can do that in this supreme way, where we can just, in as many moments as possible, be the most beautiful expression of love that we know how to be. Wow. I mean, wow. Because this whole knowing, experiencing, being thing is going to happen for you and for all of us in a big way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that, Steve. And it's an amazing awareness. You're probably familiar with my friend Dannion Brinkley. Dannion and I go way back. I was the first person to put him on television in 1994. And do you know Dannion and his story?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got to get you hooked up. So Dannion, he's pretty famous. They made a movie about his story, and he wrote a best-selling book. So he was a real son of a bitch. He worked for the CIA. He did terrible things. And he was on leave at home in South Carolina during a big rainstorm. This is like 30 years ago. And he's on a phone back in the days when we had phones and they were plugged in. And he's on a phone, and lightning hits his house, and the lightning comes through the phone and electrocutes him and kills him. Oh. And he dies. And his buddy on the other end heard something was wrong, so he was able to call and get police and paramedics over there. They get there, Dannion's dead. They put the sheet over him. They're carrying him, and as they're carrying him, he comes out. He wakes up a little bit, but he's paralyzed, and all he can do is blow. So he's like blowing on the sheet to try and get their attention. Right. Anyway, while he was out there, he had what you described. Now, he was dead for probably 20 to 40 minutes, but for him, it was like a really long time because so much happened because he went into that timeless place and he had his panoramic life review and he experienced all the all the pain he had caused in his life, the impact of people that he had hurt and the people around them that were hurt by the people who were, he had hurt. And so he dedicated, he said, bring me back, God, life, whatever you want to call it. And he dedicated his life 30 years ago to what he does now, which is working in hospice. And he has worked with over 30,000 people who are dying, helping them. And Danyan has a gift. He has the gift of taking people to heaven and showing them the afterlife. And one of the television shows I did with him that I filmed was we went to the VA hospital in Long Beach, and it was a ward of guys that are dying, and there was a guy dying of AIDS. And he was terrified of death. Absolutely, again, did not believe in life after death, was afraid to die. We do a little interview with him, and Danyan says, can I show you what's really going to happen? The guy's like scared shitless, but he trusts Danyan enough. And so Danyan says, let me just hug you for a moment. They go into this hug. And the hug goes on and on. I had to change the film in my camera, but finally after about 25 minutes, the hug ends and the camera comes in and this guy's got tears flowing down his face saying, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. There is a heaven. I'm going to go to heaven when I die. It was amazing. And what's so beautiful is Danyan helps people, but he made that transition in his life of being a real SOB, seeing what happens. And as he says, hey, I'm not doing this because I'm such a great guy. I just know that when I die, I want to experience all the joy that I've created in life to make up for the pain that I caused earlier in my life.
Yeah, but now that is a beautiful story. Yeah, truly a beautiful story. And what a look at his mission in life and how he's helping people. And this is the thing at the end of my book. What I get into from the soul science of Nassim's and Greg's and others is we're actually designed. We're designed to be part of a body, and we're designed in a body that's in loving service. That's how we're designed. And just I know we're not too far from the end of your program, but I would just invite people. I think a lot of us are giving our lives to service. And just feel into how does this feel? I mean, this story of your friend, my God, imagine how he must feel. Now, and then if you're thinking, well, I still don't know whether the American dream would feel better, then just go off and spend some extended time just doing things where you're luxurious things for yourself, where you're just doing hedonist, stuff, and see how that feels really, and just allow yourself to feel the comparison and contrast. We are designed, I would contend, to be as in a loving person in service. And unfortunately, we all grew up with the Newtonian Darwinian thing of no, it's survival of the fittest, and you got to be tough and mean and compete and all this stuff. We were just taught all of these legacy notions that are nonsense. They're just absolute nonsense. They're not true.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I want to share that we both have had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with Neil Donald Walsh. He's been on our show several times. He did our supporters party. Of course, he co-created, so you know him way, way better. And one of the things that one of our guests wanted us to point out is that today, Neil, since he's a dear friend of ours, is doing a very special show. He's doing in 6 hours the 3 secrets to ending the struggle and making your life work. So if you go to evolvingwisdom.com, they're one of our partners, evolvingwisdom.com, check out what Neil's up to. And I want to say that if you haven't had a chance to really spend quality time with Neil, he has such a beautiful wisdom and vibration, but he's also very human. Neil is one of those people who's very honest about his current, present time human challenges to live up to what he's kind of brought through, you know? It's not like once you write the book or have the epiphany, all of a sudden life gets easy. It gets easier, but there's still challenges, and he's very honest about those challenges.
Yeah, no, he is. He's incredibly honest about those challenges. He is as a modern day messenger, he's unsurpassed. His ability to take all of this wisdom of this 9 series of Conversations with God books and then distill it down into a powerful message that just touches everybody in the room is unsurpassed. He's amazing. And he also would say that when it comes to living it, being an embodiment of it, an expression of it, he's just got a lot to learn. It's really not his gift. I believe, and we've said in Humanity's team for all these years, he's perfectly imperfect. Yeah. Now, the reason I say that is these messages from Conversations with God are so, the clarity, the wisdom, the love, the vision, etc. is just, it's otherworldly. It just is, there's nobody on the planet that really has that kind of wisdom. It's why the books are so popular. Now, if he wasn't as human, just as you mentioned, Scott, as he is, where he talks about challenges he has in his everyday life, as many people do, people would believe he was Jesus. And some do anyway. We did a world tour. We did travel around the world in 40 days back in 2007. And we were in a lot of countries, and many people just, even though we say, it's said over and over and over again in the books, he's having a conversation with God. People see that wisdom and they think he's Jesus. So he's in a way perfectly imperfect, and his programs are awesome. So yeah, I'd invite people to check out your program.
I want to read a few comments. Here, let me go back to gallery view for a sec. I want to read some more comments that have come in from our Facebook page. And again, thank you everybody for watching on Facebook. Those of you who watch the recording, I try to go back and see comments that come in and share them with people or respond in writing. So thank you. And there's quite a few that have come in here. Roger, who's one of our regulars, has something for you, Steve. He says, have you and your son read the book called The Primal Wound? It's about the trauma of adoptees separated from their birth mothers at birth. And that's where your son's separations anxiety lies. Are you familiar with that book, The Primal Wound?
I'm not. No, I'll check that out.
Okay, so thank you, Roger, for passing that on. Jamie Lee writes, infinite blessings to the Dalai Lama and his extraordinary work. Healing is of essence in these vital times. And thank you for the confirmation that we are going to get there. Absolutely. Lahara comes on, and she's sending love from Mount Shasta and is saying thank you. So again, we really appreciate all of our friends coming in from all over the world and for the inspiration. Steve, before I conclude, I want to know just a little bit more about your book. Tell us, because it's a big deal to write a book and to tell your whole story. So what's a message from your book that you'd like to share that you haven't already shared today?
The message is just through my 40-year personal journey, that there's just such life is such an incredible invitation. It's just such an incredible invitation. Again, I was a middle kid, middle kids in 7. So I was the 3rd oldest and with 7 siblings in total. And middle kids listen well. You've got the youngest and oldest that are kind of dominating conversation at the table. I had a guidance counselor tell me in the 9th grade, when I asked about my intelligence, he said, you're average. You're just average, Steve. I was close to my dad, even though they were divorced. But I didn't really know, who could I be or who was I really? And on this amazing journey that I've had, coming from where just the most common of homes that I think is probably similar to our viewers. I've just where I've really put myself in service to try and understand, how does life really work? I know what the legacy of life is. I know what the legacy of when we pass is, but how does it really work? And fortunately, as I was doing this, as I was in the 1990s, when I made this decision to pivot, I realized I was not my body. I was this expression of the divine, or cosmos, with everlasting life, with unlimited potential. And I really believed it and have given myself fully to it. And now I'm living as I believe we were all designed to live. The book gets into this. It's getting into the science of that which is why I'm saying, try this hedonist thing, try the life and service thing. Our feelings are always what guide us. Sometimes people say, well, but the Bible says this, or this sacred text says that, or it's always our feelings really are where we want to come back to, not external sources. What do our feelings tell us? What are we guided to be and do? If we don't go within, we go without, right? So where we really do the work and we have our practice every day and we stay in this place of connection as we learn about what connection is with the divine and each other. And then we just put ourselves fully in service to it. It's unbelievable, the life we have. And I know, Scott, this is your story. It's my story. It's the invitation in life. Mm-hmm. So just to really, life is such a precious thing. And this moment where we're pivoting is such an unbelievable moment to just embrace this moment, embrace who we are, embrace this, how we were designed. And then we're just going to have the most incredible lives.
Thank you so much, Steve. I've just really enjoyed it. And we're getting, of course, a lot of appreciations. And again, I just want to remind people, please go to Steve's show. You can see the way that I think. Please go to Humanities Team. And I'm going to bring up the website one more time. There we go. I was on Neil Donald Walsh. Go to humanitiesteam.org. Join, become a member. He's just put together such an incredible library of all of there's Reverend Michael, all of our favorite teachers, providing the wisdom that we need so that we can really fill our brains, fill ourselves with this information, with this wisdom, and that's how we become the most evolved beings that we possibly can be. I want to just let people know about a couple of other things, our upcoming shows. I do a show every Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. Next Friday night, Straight Talk is healthy choices for the holy days and for the new year. My good buddy TJ Woodward, who wrote Conscious Recovery, and Annie Rogers, who's been in the field of dealing with addiction for a long time. And look, we all have addictions. It might be a Haagen-Dazs ice cream at the end of the day. But they're all things that we are addicted to because it feels good. It starts as pleasure. How can we work with that? And how can we really make healthy choices for the new year? So it's going to be a good show. Next Saturday nights, Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe is going to be amazing. I'm really proud of this show. I've worked hard on it. The theme is celebrating the winter solstice by honoring our beloved spiritual teachers of the past and the present. And so we have in present time some of our favorite spiritual teachers, Michael Beckwith, the Twin Ray, Andrew Harvey, Matthew Fox, Lynn Twist, Sachin and Suzanne. And they're all going to be talking about their influences, the spiritual teachers that influenced them. And I'll give you a little preview. For Matthew Fox, as an example, he talks about Abraham Lincoln. Now, you don't necessarily think of Abe Lincoln, Steve, as a spiritual teacher, but when he was a young boy, he was just fascinated with Abe Lincoln's life, and that Lincoln was dedicated to honesty at all costs. Fast forward, that's Matthew as a boy at 12, to when he's now in his 50s, and he gets kicked out of the church because of his honesty, because he could no longer stay quiet about the things he saw going on within the Catholic Church at that time. And so I love that story And we're going to hear from Michael Beckwith and all the others, their spiritual influences and how it impacted them. So it's going to be a really, really extra special show.
Yeah, boy, they're wonderful people. Matthew Fox has a program called Living in Awe and Wonder with us. He is an amazing leader and individual, amazing. And he, as you mentioned, he has so much courage. He was kicked out of the Catholic Church, and he's been in the Watkins 100 spiritual leaders for over a decade, and he's usually like number 6 or 7 or something. He's amazing.
Were you living in the Bay Area when he had his cosmic mass going on? Did you get a chance to go to those?
I did not. No.
Yeah,
He's at Vallejo, I know.
they were great. Yeah, he was putting on these big cosmic masses. I live in the Bay Area, so I went frequently. And it was just these beautiful non-denominational celebrations at Easter time or Passover, usually, around certain holy days, but in a non-denominational celebration. And it was beautiful, just a really powerful what he pulled together.
Yeah, nice. Well, Scott, thank you for your incredible contributions to a conscious world and awakened world. You're doing it, and you're living in your dharma, and it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. Likewise, I think we're having a sacred mirror moment, Steve. I feel the same way. And thank you for what you're doing with Humanity's Team. And I look forward to future collaborations with you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for being with us here, viewers.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you enjoy the show, share it out over your Facebook page. And those of you watching the recording, do leave comments. I'll go in and take a look and do my best